This season, Stranded is headed to the Galapagos, an island chain filled with unique creatures that have adapted to these isolated seas. It's a perfect place for a game of deception. Welcome to Stranded 45. The Galapagos, survival of the fittest.
All right. Well, we'll do the Pooty intro too, just for old time's sake, you know?
Okay.
Everybody ready to go?
Yep.
32 people. Nope, never mind. 22 people. Wait, does it go days, players, then hosts, then podcast? Okay. 32 days, 22 castaways, 4 co-hosts, and 1 podcast. Welcome back to the Stranded Podcast, everybody. Pooty is out for the season, and so we are taken over by storm. I guess I'm the host, Danny. Joined by 3 other co-hosts of Stranded. 2-time player? 3-time player? I don't even know how many times you've played, James. Anyways, coming off his most recent win in Tasmania, it's James, Simon, Parker, whatever you want to call him.
Hello, and it was actually 4 times that I've played, but it's okay.
All right, well,
Which one?
We can forget one of those at least.
let's just say it's 3 for your own.
I'll let you be the judge of that,
Also
listeners.
joining us on the mic, 2-time All-Star and Stranded legend, Susie.
Hi, everyone. Excited to get the season going again.
And oh yeah, so pumped. And last but not least, 2-time player, 1-time Stranded player, starting in Stranded for victory, it's Levita. All right, so as we
Hi.
were saying before, the
Very
whole
grand entrance.
trying to figure out an intro thing, we're starting a new season. Pooty is on paternity leave and left us to run the ship, which might have been a mistake. Only time will tell. But I think we're doing a pretty good job right now.
So far, so good.
We're gonna get so far so good. We're gonna get into the cast for Stranded in the Galapagos. I think we have a pretty good group of people together. How are you guys feeling so far as we're just taking an overall look at this cast?
I'm super excited. I think we have a fantastic mix of people who have never heard of barely heard of Survivor to people who keep spreadsheets of games that they've played and everything in between. And we were going to keep the season at 20 originally and had to expand it to 22 because
What a
that's how many
problem
good
to
apps we
have.
had. So
Too many
really
good
excited.
people applying. All right, so we're going to split up between the 2 tribes. We're going to do it all in one podcast. We'll just start. We're going to pull up Susie's amazing cast bios, and we are going to get started with the Tortuga tribe. One of the things we're doing this season, as the lurkers know, is we're opening up a lot of our choices to the fans of Stranded, to the Stranded fam. And we let you guys choose which seasons we were going to use as reps for Stranded 45. So as we get into the Tortuga tribe, we're going to go with the most requested season, Survivor 46. A season of big characters, and I think we found some people to match them. All right. We are going to get started with Ben. Ben is played by Bigfoot Bran. He's a 31-year-old male referred to us by, was it Leslie? Leslie. Right?
It says Leslie in the bio.
So Ben, big character in Survivor 46, and I think that Bran is going to be able to bring this character to life for us. His interview, I would say the majority of us were pretty happy with it, but nobody had a better time in this interview than Kimmy. Bran was just firing off pun after pun after pun for the entire hour he was in talking to us. And Kimmy was just like losing his mind and firing puns back. It's one of those ones where you like watch it happen and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's going to fit in great here. So I'm really happy. This is personally probably my favorite rep of the new era. So I'm hoping that he's able to live up to it.
I was just going to say, I think he's got the most energy. He's just, he had a super long interview. He had lots to say about everything. He wanted to tell us about all the different jobs he's had. And I think, I don't know, I didn't count them, but I think we had at least a dozen brand puns like Brand Aids, Brantham, Brandalorian. He just never stopped. And then Kimmy just, kept continuing off. I'm really sad that Kimmy couldn't join us because they were such a big part of interviewing this year and recruiting.
Yeah, Kimmy, there's going to be a lot of mentions of Kimmy on this podcast. But yeah, I think that's the thing I'm most excited about for Ben this season is that he is high energy, he's quick-witted, and he's just going to be a good time. And that's just like a skill that's really underestimated in games like this. Like if people just like talking to you and they like hanging out with you, you're going to make it at least through the pre-merge and probably pretty deep. And so I have a really good feeling about him as a player. The fact that he has played games before, their Discords, are they really comparable? But he at least understands like the basics. We're not going to have to worry about him not knowing what a tribal council is. So yeah, I think he's going to be a good pick.
Agreed. I think he's going to do really, really well at the start of the game and just getting bonds made and socially just getting on everybody's good side. Very golden retriever energy. I feel that I think his problem is going to be as he gets deeper in the game is getting cutthroat and having to cut people. We'll see if he can turn on that side of him.
That's where I'm seeing the biggest issue as well. Is you can be the nicest person on the cast. Eventually, people are going to recognize that. They're going to want to cut you, and are you going to have the strategic abilities to back up your game and make it to the end? And I mean, one of the things that Bran said in his interview is that he's never made it to a final tribal council. So he's played well, but he still has that crowning achievement that he's looking for, and I think he's hungry for it. So hopefully he can bring that to the game.
Yeah, if he can manage his threat level socially, I think he'll do great here.
Also of note, before we move on to the next person, he used to sell cannabis on a New York farm. So therefore, I'm a fan.
31 jobs.
So true.
One of his 40 jobs.
All right. Anything else on Ben before we move on? All righty. Moving on to our next player, we have Charlie, played by Jack Jarshow. Some of you might recognize that name, and that's because this is the younger brother to our very own Jean Robert. He had applied originally last season to be on Bhutan, and I don't know what the miscommunication was, where the wires got crossed, but somehow he never made it in for an interview and reached out to us again this year saying, hey, what the fuck, guys? I want to play Stranded. I want to prove to you that I'm better than my brother. So here he is.
Yeah, and he got to us right on time, too. Literally within the past week or so. Probably the last person we interviewed, but had to throw in because how can you not Nepocast?
JR's had some
brother?
Opinions about how his brother might do compared to him. He thinks that he's trying to show that he's smarter and better at games, I think, than his older brother, JR. And I don't know, I think he might be. I mean, JR's game is hot and cold. He's either amazing or he's regrettable. And he's had some really good showings here, but he's a hothead and his emotions get control of things and I think sometimes make the decisions. And Jack describes himself as calmer and I don't know, more I don't know. Just someone who maybe thinks things through more, maybe doesn't get as hot right away. So if that's the case, if he's got JR's strategy and a bit calmer personality, he might do very well here.
I agree completely. I think the thing that stood out to me in his interview is that he was very direct. I think one of the things that I always noticed about JR is JR's a rambler. JR talks a
Mm.
lot. Uh, Charlie, in his interview, was just like very direct. He answered the question. He was answering them with a purpose, and he would follow up where he needed to. But he also just seems very self-assured. I want to say 2021. His app from last year said 20, so maybe he's a year
Mm.
older. I don't know. But the way he was typing and the way he was answering to our questions, he came off with just like a vibe of like really strong self-confidence that you don't necessarily get with players that age very often. And like you said, Susie, he really has a goal. He wants to prove that he's better than JR. Um, and as somebody who has been Nepo cast for their younger brother to try and beat them in the following season, um, this time I'm taking the side of the younger brother. I want to see Charlie go all the way.
Yeah, I think he's got the chops to do really well. He seems very level-headed and strategic, but also incredibly competitive and invested. So as long as he can, make those bonds, which I think he'll be great at, I think he'll be able to handle that and get into a core where maybe JR was kind of on the outside a lot and kind of like pushing his way in. I don't think Charlie's going to have that same problem.
And not for nothing, Jack/Charlie is a studying to be an attorney, another of our long list of stranded attorneys, and currently interning at a federal public defender's office. So I think that may have helped his communication style be very direct.
Yeah. I also just want to point out that he calls himself very neurotic, then compared himself to Tyson Apostle, somebody who I don't really think is very neurotic, but who I find hilarious. And I just think that's a really funny dichotomy right there. All right. Does anybody have anything else to say about Charlie?
Get your brothers and sisters to apply to Stranded. More Nepo casting.
We do love Nepo casting. And this is, one step closer to the stranded brothers versus spouses. So,
Let's get some sisters in there.
yeah, if we can find one, we would love it. Alrighty, moving on. Our next player is Hunter, played by Amanda. This is a really interesting application to me, and somebody I'm really excited to watch. So Amanda is somebody who I've seen play in a couple orgs now, and she specifically asks to play as male aliases when she's playing in an alias game, just to kind of see if it can, propel her further, if she can avoid some of the stigma that comes as playing as a woman in a game like this. And so far, everything I've ever seen her play, she's done great. I find this to be one of the people that when I look at this cast, I'm really optimistic about their chances.
Yeah, she self-admits that she talks a lot. She says it's hard to get her to stop yapping. And I think that's going to serve her really, really, really well in Stranded because everybody loves a yapper both in DMs and in confessionals. So I think that's going to be great for her. Super excited. We usually get a lot of men playing as women reps, but we don't often get a lot of women playing as men right off the bat in Stranded. So I'm really excited to see her kind of take on that alias and probably do really well with it.
I'm super excited about watching her play. I think Stranded can be very overwhelming if you're not a chatter. Especially at the very beginning and at merge, you're going to have so many people to talk to. And if you can sort of be fluid about that and get to everyone, you're going to do much better. I like her chances here a lot.
Yeah, there are a few things that I do want to call out about Hunter that give me pause, and it's something that's going to come up with a couple players on this season, and that's she's not really into the edgelords, the shit posting, the horny players. In fact, to quote the bio that Susie wrote, Hunter said, "I hate horny players. That shit makes me deeply uncomfortable both in real life and in games. If you're going to be horny on main, you better be charismatic as fuck in our DMs. Otherwise, I'm holding you at an arm's length." Now, inherently, it's
So
a
that's
hilarious
out
thing,
like 4 co-hosts.
right? I just think, Stranded has a sense of humor. We are looking for people who are big characters, and some of those people are going to come in and they're going to purposely be cast to rub people the wrong way. And I can tell you right now, there's people on this cast that are going to be horny on main all the time. And I'm going to be very interested to see how Hunter adapts to that and if they're going to be able to put up with the behavior of some of the people we have on this cast.
Hunter is going to rally the prudes.
Yeah, I like the fact that Hunter can keep up with the conversation enough to talk somebody down from that. Like they're not going to be intimidated by the behavior, but they might call it out frequently.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Personally, having watched them play, I think that Hunter's going to be able to handle it well. I'm just worried for their own sanity about some of the people we have on this cast. So this is somebody that I'm predicting is going to go pretty deep as well. And this is now the third person in a row where I think I said they're going to go pretty deep. So
Yeah,
They're all
we're gonna
going
have
deep.
to. Everybody's going deep here. No, I think we have a couple where we might be predicting that they don't go so far.
Yeah, we might be coming up on one.
awesome. Does anybody else have something to say about Hunter? Alrighty, moving on along. Next up, we have Jelinski, played by Nick. He is an 18-year-old from Maryland, and he's actually applying to Stranded as prep for his eventual hopeful run on Survivor Maryland.
Yeah, we are the prep league.
The junior league.
Exactly.
I like Jelinski's chances. He's got a Jelinski personality, and I think he was so properly cast. He's kind of all over the map. He like gets very emotional. He also gets a little bit talky. He thinks he might come off as villainous. So I think he's going to be a very complex character. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how he manages his personality among this very diverse group of folks we got here.
I mean, he compared himself to a mix of like Rob Sesternino and Big Brother 20's Brett, which is just a combination that I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to wrap my mind around. And I think it just creates Jelinski.
Yep.
The other thing it creates,
And Charlie.
somebody who's going to be horny on main.
Maybe he might be on the Hunter's side.
I think he's a guy who's going to, like pretend to be really, really strategic, but when you actually look at what he's doing and what he's saying, he's not going to be strategic at all.
Yeah, that's
I
I
think
think what
that's
I'm
fair.
most excited for. And I think it should be noted, he's applying at 18. We have a pretty old cast this season. I think our average age is like 31 or 32. And so to be an 18-year-old in this cast, I think there's going to be a lot of challenges for him, either just with connecting with people or, like Levita said, kind of thinking that he's being strategic and being a mastermind when really he's maybe playing a little emotionally, a little all over the place. But I think that's going to be a really cool dynamic in this cast, especially as we kind of reveal some more of the people. I just think, for an 18-year-old, he was really self-assured and seemed like he had a good head on his shoulders. And honestly, I think this is a little bit of like we're going to scratch your back, and then when you go and play on Survivor Maryland, you're going to help us recruit some more cool people, That's at least like what I want to think.
To add to that,
He had one of the most interesting.
We're using you.
Go ahead,
I was
Jane.
just gonna say, like, going off the whole being strategic while he's really not. He does mention, and it does mention in the bio that he when he does get emotional, logic goes completely out the window. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of messy style of player gets along with, the people that are more used to playing orgs and that know the way that it works and like know how to play the game the way it's quote unquote meant to be played. And so it'll be interesting to see that like dynamic happen if he is a very messy player.
Yeah, I was just going to mention he had one of the most remarkable interviews in that one of his examples, I can't remember what the question was, but he told us that he once recorded a man robbing his store. So presumably this was when he worked his summer job at the drugstore. He told the guy who was robbing the store, I'm presuming was armed, but maybe not, smile for the camera, buddy. And then he handed that footage over to the cops. I wasn't
Balls of
expecting a
steel.
story about a guy telling a robber to smile at the camera.
That's a very TikTok generation right there. No, I agree
He
with you, Susie,
probably
though.
did
He
end
does
up
have a
putting
little
the
bit of like
footage on TikTok.
he does have a little bit of like bravado to him that I think is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
And then on
Yeah.
that note as well, he did send us his audition tape for Survivor Maryland, and that opens with a little bit of like a let me show off my body, whatever kind of douchey attitude that we love on Stranded.
Well, he does like
Yeah.
5 push-ups and he's like, yeah, get a load of me. It was so great.
It was amazing. I mean,
It was
That was-
hilarious.
It was
I
great.
hope he lets us release some form of that video to the masses at some point.
yeah, we'll get some approval to just share that with everybody. To close out on Jelinski, he has mentioned that he's played some Zoom and anonymous games before. I don't think he's played anything quite like Stranded, but he does have some experience, like we said, with LRGs and some other games. So at the very least, I think he's going to be, set up to make it through at least the first tribe. Who knows about Swap and beyond? But I'm really excited to see him play, and Jelinski's an iconic character, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I hope he goes far and gets a lot of practice for his University of Maryland try or Survivor Maryland try.
Could be noted. I think their alias is Jessica, but the guy who started Survivor Maryland once upon a time played Stranded. So continue the legacy.
Oh.
Alrighty. Anything else about Jelinski? All right, moving on. Next up, we have Jem, who is going to be played by Alex Bayless. Alex is a 38-year-old male, and this was a Deshaun recruit. Big thing to say about Jem. Jem is an old school gamer. They have been playing Facebook orgs and other games for 20 plus years now at this point. So somebody who's from like the old days back with Pootie. And, it was really exciting to get somebody like that applying for this season.
Yeah, another person who has worked a bunch of different jobs as well, from what I remember from their interview, and just has a lot of different like life experiences to talk about and bond with. Being an org so long, he's kind of over all the small talk. So I think Jem will be really key into people who can have interesting conversations and be kind of a unique character in that respect.
We saw a little bit of it in the interview, but he calls himself funny, and I'd like to see more of that. He was certainly dry when we met him. He had a lot to say, one of the longer interviews that we had, and a lot of opinions about things, but he does also like his chances. He thinks he's going to be the most slept on here, and he might be right. It depends on how he socially handles the beginning of the game. But I think he has the chance of, sort of coming in as someone that nobody really is worried about, and then he's still there, in the final.
Yeah, I think to build off of that, Susie, I was really disarmed by the interview. I think specifically because of what you said, where a lot of people that come in and interview for us, they're putting on a show, they're, oozing
Mm-hmm.
personality, they're telling jokes, they're making brand puns every 10 minutes. But Alex, aka Jem, came in and was just kind of like to the point and had just like some self-assuredness of the fact that they've been doing this for 20 years. And I think that there was just a little bit of not necessarily cockiness, but like I know that this is going to work out. I know that I'm going to be able to do this. Um, that was really intriguing to me because if the way that he was talking in that interview was the way that I was talking to somebody in the beginning of a game, I wouldn't find it super connectable. I don't think it would be somebody that I gravitate towards immediately. But if you have 20 plus years of experience, who knows? We might see a completely different person that shows up when he actually has to interact with the people in his tribe and start playing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about it that way. Yeah, because, when we did in the interview get to ask, okay, what questions do you have for us type things, things like, oh, well, what do you like to drink? Where would you go for a vacation? Those types of questions, not really necessarily about the game itself, just like casual, okay, this is a fun time. But we'll see if Jem ends up being like the type of player who people feel like asks them for a lot of info, but doesn't necessarily give up as much themselves, which is a pattern some people can get in that can hurt them. But I think they'll definitely get past the first hurdle of the early game, but we'll see how they do as they get further and further in.
Yeah, my gut
Yeah, it'll
reaction
be
here.
interesting.
Oh, go ahead, Susie.
Oh, I was just going to say it'll be interesting watching him play. I don't know what to expect, but I know that he's got some good game chops, or at least a lot of endurance. 20 years of gaming. He said over 70, almost 70 games. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think just from experience of, hosting now for as long as I have and playing in various different types of formats, people with that kind of experience, I just never bet against them. He just strikes me as
Hmm.
somebody who is going to make it to merge just off of sheer understanding of how to play, you know? So I wouldn't bet
Yeah.
against Gem making it deep. I am just curious to see how Gem interacts with the rest of the cast and whether or not they're able to become like a legitimate winner contender.
Really.
Alrighty. Anything else on Gem? Alrighty. Moving on. The next player is Kenzie, who is going to be played by Amorbury. Amor Aubrey? Amorbury. She is a 32-year-old female, and this is a Susie recruit off of Reddit.
Yeah, brand new, never played orcs before. Super engaging personality, very congenial. She seems super sweet. I'm really excited to see what she brings to the game. I
Her
don't know what it
backstory
was.
reminds. Sorry.
I was gonna ask, yeah, go to you, Susie, and say I don't know what it was about her on Reddit that like made you reach out, but I think she's gonna be great.
I should have captured the comment she made. She just said something funny, so I reached out to her. I like her backstory. Really reminds me of NECA. She's got a twin that's been her rival since the moment they were born, and pitted against each other. And Armorberry Kenzie is apparently always came out on top. So she may have a lot of confidence coming in. And if she's also smart and can figure things out quickly, I think she should do well here. She is a fan of Survivor, huge fan. So I like her chances, and I think she can keep up socially.
Do you
Yeah.
think what I'm worried about for her, what I'm excited about, but also worried about for her chances, is I think she's going to be pretty like volatile, where if, somebody disagrees with her, if she doesn't get her way,
Hmm.
or if something happens, I think that's really going to flip a switch with her and make her act like completely differently. Very kind of Jamie Kez style.
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of see those types of reactions, which I love to watch. But I'm really excited to see how she would navigate through those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kes has done so well playing after. I mean, she did well in her first game, but even better her second. So
Yeah. Admittedly,
could
this is
change
one of
it.
the few interviews that I wasn't there for, so I only have experienced this from reading. But this line that Susie has in the bio is catching me just by surprise every time I read it, and it makes me laugh. And it says, she's only ever played a few online games. I've primarily played Fall Guys online, but didn't try my hand at Rocket League. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, I get that people are asking, did you play any online games? But the fact that she responded with just like random games she's played on the internet and not like relating it back to Survivor really tickles me in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Do
But yeah,
that,
I think the
yes.
Kez experience, the Kez comparison is really apt here. And I think there's a couple people on this cast that are kind of like that, where they're brand new to orgs. They've never played a game like this before, but they just have like a personality that's going to mesh well. And so for Kenzie, I kind of see like a high variance game. She could be out really early and just be like left in the dust, or I could see her really getting the hang of it and that competitive nature kind of kicking in and her making a deep run.
Yep. I also see her calling out people that give her grief. If she's used to, making comments to her twin every day of her life, putting her in her place or whatever, she's going to have something sharp to say if anybody tries to pull anything on her.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right. Does anybody else have anything to say about Kenzie? Alrighty. Moving on. Next up, we have somebody that I think is a lot of the hosting panels' biggest grab, you might want to say, the biggest get. And this is Maria, who's going to be played by Mother Sue. Mother Sue is a 62-year-old woman, mother of four, and somebody that all of us have been talking about nonstop in the host chat as we've been doing our casting for this season. Who wants to take it away with Mother Sue?
I feel like I know Mother Sue the best. I actually watched her live reality game. She played on Zoom. And I hadn't watched it when we interviewed her, but then I went and watched it afterwards. She is a interesting character. I hope that she's got the energy to keep up with this series, because the Zoom orgs were. I mean, I didn't get to see all of the behind the scenes, but they do capture quite a bit of it on their videos. And it was basically talking, maybe it looked like maybe an hour total per day, and no typing, very few. Well, I mean, there were some games, but they were very sort of simple games. I just don't know how that looks when she's trying to talk to, maybe 10 other people or however many she's going to get. Um, and in the chatting, she's just not a super not really a chatter. She's not someone that likes to say a lot of words, and I don't know how that'll go over. She'll either be trusted immediately and people will feel like she's on their side, because she is very loyal when she plays. She was the sort of I don't know, she, in my opinion, she rode the coattails of the winner, but she also picked the winner to ride the coattails of. And I think she saw that that person was going to be a strong competitor. So maybe she's learned from that experience. I believe this will be her second org, and we might get a little bit more gamer out of her. But the fact that she even wants to play, she volunteered, she found us online and wanted to play, I think that says a lot about her chances here.
Yeah, I noticed that about the interview too, Susie, because I don't think I was there live for it, but reading it back was like, wow, these are really short answers. Every single one, every
Mm-hmm.
question we threw at her was like, one sentence, a few words here and there, a little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, she's really an enigma. I haven't talked to her outside of that at all. But I think she's, when we get somebody like this apply, we have to take a chance on her. So I'm excited that she's taking a chance on us, and I'm interested to see how that does translate to an IM alias game where people aren't necessarily going to know off the bat, what type of person they might be playing with like they would in the online Zoom game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to chime in too, like Livia said, you don't really get a lot of 62-year-old women applying to play online games. So right off the bat, I think this was just like an application that we were really interested in. Like Susie said, the fact that she reached out to us, she found us. It wasn't like somebody we found on Reddit. There's definitely some intrigue there, and she knows what she's getting herself into. But like Susie said, I think the thing that I'm worried about and the thing that I just see being really difficult for Maria to adapt to is the consistency that you need in an IM based game like Stranded. I mean, we've seen in multiple games now in the last couple years, you have those people who just they camp out on the site all day, and the minute you log on, they're chatting with you. There's like a level of social abilities that people are expecting out of you in order to trust you in a game like this. And I just worry that Maria is going to get left behind pretty early if she's not ready and prepared to jump in and dive headfirst into this game. Not saying that she can't do well. That's just where I see her weakness being able to keep up with some of the people that we have on this cast. Because we have a couple in here like Hunter and a couple more that are coming up that are chatters. They're going to be talking all the time. They're going to be able to talk your ear off. And if Maria isn't going to give that energy back to them, I don't think she's going to be long for this game.
She did do well asserting her loyalty to the people that she was loyal to. I think she was, it was to her advantage that it was a Zoom game because she looks reliable. She looks like somebody you would trust. And she's going to have to overcome that lack of visibility with words. And I'm not sure that's her strongest suit, but I guess we'll see. I'm hopeful.
And I don't know if Maria is doing her any favors in that department. We're giving her somebody who didn't vote for their closest ally in the end. So we'll see. I'm excited to watch Mother Sue. I think that it's going to be a really fun time no matter how far she makes it. And it'll be fun to have her around if she wants to stick around and watch with us if she does go early.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to say about Maria? All right. Trucking on along, we go to Mariah, who is played by Danny P. She's a 36-year-old woman, or she says, 36-year-old girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world. This is another Kimmy Reddit recruit. And let me tell you, she is one of the two most excited people to play this game. Since we've interviewed her, she has hit me up probably 5-6 different times asking questions, asking how to prepare. She's gone back and done a deep dive into the Stranded podcasts and looking at old boards. She's a complete org newbie, but she wants it. She's hungry for the win.
Yeah, I love her. I was instantly drawn to her in her interview. She's incredibly, charismatic, quick talker. I think she'll be really, really social. I think she'll be really easy for people to connect with. She's kind of a huge nerd, which we've got a couple of those on this cast, especially our female nerds. So we might see some of them linking up a little bit. But for a complete newbie, I'm really excited to see kind of how she approaches this. I love completely new players, and I love watching them kind of get thrown into this deep end that is Stranded and adapt to it and figure out if they're going to sink or swim. And I think she can swim.
Might have to bring back the physical in real life Stranded buffs because that's her main motivation for wanting to play this game. Might have to bring
More
back those.
merchandise.
Would Pooty being MIA?
Yeah, she might not be alone there wanting a buff.
Nah, we can get Pooty to set up a buff for this season. He's not doing anything else.
They're going to be gorgeous. I mean, with the
Raising a baby.
Oh, I want them already.
Yeah, they are. They're beautiful colors. The I mean, I'm super excited about the whole theme of this season, partly because of the colors that we ended up with, but it's just so interesting. Yeah, it's probably the most interesting place on the planet to me. I'm really happy that we get to dive into it.
We got a group of
And
players to match it.
yes, and Mariah, I think, fits in there. I think she's going to be a social butterfly. I think people are going to fall in love with her, and I think that might be your downfall. She might get too popular and people think that she's too social. But on the other hand, she also is probably going to make some beginner mistakes, which might lower her threat level.
Yeah, I could see that. There are a couple things that really stood out to me about Mariah in her interview. Like both of you said, she's very social. She was very easy to talk to. She was very enthusiastic. I think she's going to fit in with her tribe just great. But one of the things that she kept bringing up is she calls herself a chaos gremlin and kept referring back to it where she's like, I'm going to be the one spreading lies. I'm going to be sneaky. Like, I think that that's the kind of game I want to play. And admittedly, in her app, she was talking about that and said that she knows it'll get her into trouble. But I think that was the thing that was the most intriguing to me about her is that, you have this social butterfly who is also sitting there being like, yeah, but I want to have fun. I want to be the person pulling the strings. I want to be the one doing the blindsiding, stabbing people in the back. And I'm really excited to see that. I mentioned it with Hunter, but there was a little bit of hesitation on our end just because she has also expressed some discomfort with some of the edgier sides of, the humor that shows up in these games. And I am a little nervous for her specifically. I think Hunter has played a lot of these games and is used to it, knows how to deal with it, is able to assert himself and stop those things in their tracks. I don't know if Mariah is going to have that backbone and like the ability to, stop the overly horny person in the group chat that's making her uncomfortable without making herself a target, if you know what I mean. I think that that's going to be something I'm really interested to watch for her is she able to handle these different larger personalities that she might not want to interact with,
Yeah, that's a good point. I
Yeah.
think what I think like going off the chaos gremlin comments too, I get the sense that she's the type of person who will put herself, like dig herself a hole, but then also scramble to try to climb out of it. The type of person who makes messes and then has to clean up after herself rather than the type of player who never makes a mess.
Yeah, but we love
Yeah.
watching those people.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, is there anything else we want to say about Mariah?
She's going to be fun.
I think so too. All right, moving on. We are to Quintavious Q Burdett.
Speaking of
Q is
messes,
going to be played by Exy. He's a 23-year-old male, and he is a Ream recruit. We love a Ream recruit in Stranded.
anytime you see that, it's gonna be a ride.
Right. And Q is the perfect rep for
I
this
was going
guy.
to say,
I mean,
yeah.
we, in that interview, I don't think we were prepared for some of the stories we were going to get. I just want to share a quick anecdote. It's outlined in the cast bio. But when this dude was early on in his college career, he looked like he was going to be failing out of his engineering program. And when he realized that he had to do something quick, he decided to get a doctor to sign a note saying that he was going blind unexpectedly so that he could get waived from his classes that semester and then come back later, take them again, and do better. And I just think if that's not a Q Burdett story right there, I don't know what is. Just fake it till you make up the lie, go big or go home. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I know for Mariah, I just said that she kind of gives me vibes of making messes, digging herself holes, and then having to climb out of them. I think that story, just from Q himself, shows that he's going to be making a lot of messes, making a huge name for himself, and then coming up with crazy, ridiculous schemes to dig himself out of every single one of them.
And just to close that story, he did it. He ended up with the highest GPA he's ever had in an industrial engineering degree, and he got a job just from that lie. Just from convincing his professor he had sudden blindness.
It is incredible.
And I think this was all, I don't remember the whole story, but I think this was all from he needed a new prescription on his glasses, and that was part of his supporting evidence that he had temporary blindness or I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was
It's
very
absolutely ridiculous, and he takes the same
Yeah.
energy into the games too. I mean, even in his interview, he was talking about skipping his birthday party to play an endurance challenge in a game. From some of that, he just got voted out of a game he's currently playing with Reem, and she sent me some screenshots of him putting in like hours worth of challenge prep. So if he is not a challenge beast here, he is going to be pissed. And I think that's going to be really funny.
Yeah.
And if he is, he's going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, it's also worth
Yeah.
noting he's a big spreadsheet guy. So not only does he want to be the challenge beast, but he tracks his placements in orgs. He gave us his average placement, the standard deviation. You know, he's very bold, predicting that he's going to do better in Stranded than 5.63th place. That's what
Which is outdated now because he just got 8th.
Okay, so it's probably like what, 5.65?
Like 5.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lowering that GPA.
It's it does scream of the kid who's like arguing for every point on the test to make sure that they're just like slightly better than the next person.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be the first person to argue with us on a host call.
For sure. I'm very excited
Yeah.
for him. You know, having somebody like him on this cast, especially with this tribe that seems to be more of like a social happy-go-lucky tribe. I think having somebody like him who's like very much like a player, like he's playing the challenges, he's playing the game hard. I think that he's going to be really interesting to watch with this group of people.
I think so far he's probably like our biggest game bot on the cast by far.
He's also a mess.
Yeah,
So it's just even better.
messy game bot.
Yes, messy game bots. He's played 83 seasons in different formats, and he's only 23.
He doesn't have 20
I don't know.
years
I'm
of
sure he
Facebook
could do
works
the
to back
math on
up.
that.
Yeah, he started playing games the same time I did in like 2018, and he's at 83. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
you know, you have Jem who's 20 years in and hasn't even hit 70. So
Yeah,
that's the kind of person we're dealing with.
yeah, hardcore.
Do we have bets? Do we think he's beating his average placement?
No.
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 All right, well, I'll say yes just to be the odd man out here.
No, I think he's going to be too much of a threat if he makes it that far in this game. He's going to get out 10 through 6 before he'd get out 5th.
I could see that, but I'll bet on the under. He's going to be under 5.63th. All right. Anything else that we want to say about Q?
I mean, if he is very strong in the challenges, he could pull a Simon and just cockroach his way to 5 once individual immunity starts.
Yeah, I do hope that we cast enough people that are decent at challenges that doesn't happen, but I want to see him fight for it, you know? Prove me right, Q.
Yeah, I want to see him get really, really pissed at somebody for continually beating him and him being second behind them.
Well, when we get to the person, I have the person who I think is going to be consistently beating him.
I think I know who you're talking about.
We'll get there later. All right, that's it for Q. Next up, we have Tevin. This is probably the most excited person we have to play on this season. Tevin is going to be played by Zachary. Zachary is a 34-year-old male. And man, this was a fun interview. Probably just like the liveliest and most engaging person we talked to, at least in my opinion, in the interview process this year. And this is a TikTok recruit. Hootie found him on TikTok. Hootie was doing work, recruiting in the depths of the internet.
new recruitment strategies, and it is paying off with Tevin because, like, yeah, as you said, Danny, just so engaging and funny naturally throughout the interview, just a really interesting dynamic character. Just a really cool person, and I think he's gonna do really well. I've got really high hopes for him. I don't think he's played anything org like before, except for, like, really, really old, websites that existed back when we were, like, teenagers. Um, but I think he's just going to be a social magnet. And we've been talking about a lot of social characters on this tribe, but I think he might out social them all. He's been sending me countdowns of the season coming up, so definitely yes on the most excited that we have. And I think he's just going to hit the ground running, and his detriment could be potentially hitting the ground running too fast and too furious, but I think he'll be able to navigate that okay.
Yeah. To kind of build
He's
out his
a
backstory a little bit, he's from the South. He's a gay black man. Gave us a great story about, growing up and coming to terms with who he is and embracing himself and the kind of the journey that he's been on with all of that. And I really think that, it's going to serve him well here. Just like the ability to know who you are and embrace it. But also to know how to deal with people who you don't necessarily mesh with. I think that that's something that he's going to excel at. He mentioned, there are certain types of people he doesn't get along with, and he's like, I might not trust them, but I'll find a way to connect with them in the game if that's what's going to serve me best. And so I'm really excited to see how he takes to this. I'm a little nervous about, just like the basics of being able to do challenges and like learning how the boards work. But once he gets past that, I think he's going to be a shining star in this cast.
Yeah, and to that point, I think, a lot of new to org players, sometimes they can take things a little personally, like comments that are made about them and different things like that. I do not think Tevin is going to be one of those people. I think it's going to be like water off a duck's back. Like, he's just going to roll with the punches and get people back if they do come at him.
I do think, I thought Tevin was adorable. He's just bubbly and fun and seems really sweet and cares about people. I think his social game is going to be amazing. Sort of piggybacking on what Levita said, I think he's someone that has very solid beliefs about diversity and DEI and inclusion, and probably uses correct language when identifying, issues or whatnot, that, probably half the cast doesn't have, a basic awareness of. I don't know, maybe not half, but a lot. And I got a feeling that, like, when he was talking about not wanting to, wouldn't vibe with people with certain political beliefs. I think we can all guess what those are at this moment. He can't get past that. He says, I can't vibe with that. I can't get past it. And I don't know. I mean, maybe he will in the heat of the game. He'll decide to let something slide or whatnot, or he may decide to take a stand. So that part is really interesting to me, to see what he decides to do if he's confronted with something that, he would find offensive.
That's my one worry with him, as well as, like, I'm sure there's going to be like trolls or people that are like purposely trying to instigate things on this cast. And that's my one worry with him, is that we may end up with, like, I know this didn't happen in the season, but like another like Caleb or Clab situation, uh, where they're
He was so entertaining when he was so offended,
like,
though.
yeah. But that's my one worry with him, is that we either, I don't know if he would go to the point of
Yeah.
rage quitting, but like he may get a bit too emotionally
He'd
invested.
be the type of person to just stand up to it in the game.
Yeah.
And not leave the game. Like, the rage
Yeah.
quitters are the pussies, and I don't think he's one.
I don't know if we have anybody
Yeah,
on
I
this
would.
cast who is going to be like that polarizing. But we definitely have some people who will push buttons. So I'll be interested to see, which people get under his skin and which people don't. But I do agree with you. I think he's an assertive person. Yeah, I think he's assertive enough that, like, if something truly offended him, if there was something where he truly felt like he had to step up and say it, he would say it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
Anything else about Tevin?
He was really excited to play Tevin, so I'm glad he got that alias.
Yeah, I think it was John in the Lurker server who said, "Holy shit, you found Tevin to play Tevin." It was kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
perfect match right there. Alrighty, well, we've got nothing else on Tevin. We're gonna go to my favorite person on the Tortuga tribe. Next up, we have Venus, who's going to be played by Shelly. Shelly is a 25-year-old female. She's from Poland, and this woman is a riot. I am so excited for all of you to get Venus in this season. She's going to be entertaining as hell. I've said it a couple times. The only way I know how to describe her in a way that stranded people would understand would be if Jillian had any sense about how she came off and then spoke in ESL broken English kind of way. She's incredible.
Yeah, and you'd been trying to get her to apply for a while, right? But it wasn't until BC Cataly just randomly messaged her, never having met her before, kind of lapping in an lurker server, and finally convinced her to apply. And fantastic interview. She is just a pretty girl with a pretty face, and she deserves to be treated like royalty as such. And she doesn't know where the Galapagos is, but she's ready to win.
I couldn't even get her for my game. I tried. But I'm glad she's on Stranded first because I feel like it's going to be a bigger mixed mash of larger personalities that you can like bounce off of to lead to crazier moments. That'll be entertaining for lurkers and hosts.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Oh, go ahead, Susie.
She never lacked for some cute remark to make. I mean, she's quick verbally, or at least in chat, and I think she's going to keep up. I think I'm glad that she's got some org experience, because otherwise I would worry about her being a little overwhelmed by how much time it's going to take from her living her life and being her pretty self.
Yeah, I've played with her twice, and both times that I played, she made the end of the game. Final 3 in both of them. Now, could she win those games?
Uh-huh.
Hell no. But it was a wild ride to see her get there. She is a bit of a meme queen, you know? She would just decide some days that, oh, I'm only going to communicate in GIF with this person. Today, I am going to decide to sext you for the entire day, and then for 10 minutes, we'll talk strategy at the end. She's just a very entertaining player, and I think she fits the Stranded mold so well. We have a lot of success with our Eastern European comrades that come and play Stranded, and I think that she's going to join a long line of icons in that lineage.
She said it herself, you must love me or love me, nothing between, and I can say firmly that I love Venus.
We all love Venus.
It's a perfect rep too. I like.
Oh, yes.
It's gonna be
God,
so good,
excellent.
especially because she gets irritated with people too, and like she will talk shit. Like she will talk a lot of shit, and I think that's just perfect for a Venus rep.
Which will also help her get away with it, because her rap is so iconic.
Yeah, speaking of everyone, how do we think they're all gonna like get along with each other on this tribe? Like who's Venus gonna flirt with and who is going to be her enemy?
Venus is gonna flirt with Jelinski, and Jelinski is gonna flirt right back.
Oh yeah.
Venus's enemy is gonna be Hunter.
Yeah, I was say Hunter, yeah.
100%.
Hunter.
Yeah, I could see that.
It depends on who she wants to flirt with. She only wants to flirt with guys. Maybe Jack could flirt with her. maybe Ben. I don't know if her and Ben would be interesting.
Zelensky.
I'm sorry, I'm calling him Jack, but I mean Charlie.
Do we think that Ben could sext somebody? I'm just trying to think of how many
He's-
different ways he could fit Ben into a sexting conversation.
If anyone could, I think he's the one for the job.
Not quick enough for puns for that, but I mean, he is a happily married person in real life, so we'll see if his wife has given him permission to flirt, or if Venus will have to try to push past that and say a ring on your finger doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, she is trying to break up Mike's marriage, so
I know. Yeah.
Ben,
no boundaries. As a whole, for the Tortuga tribe, I see this, like we've said a couple times, I see this being like a highly social tribe. I think a lot of what goes down here is going to come down to social connections. I don't really think that challenge strength is going to be something that they're super worried about. And I think the clashes, like we said, I think there's going to be maybe something between Venus and Hunter with the horniness. I could see Q clashing with people for being, large and in charge and wanting to kind of bulldoze the strategy. But I see this kind of being the tribe where social people thrive and kind of take over.
Let me see, like Kenzie and Mariah getting along really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Tevin and
surprised
Jem,
for like a
maybe.
Hunter Kenzie Mariah alliance. Maybe with Tevin in there as well. That's kind of
I
where I
could
see like the social core of this tribe forming.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see when they actually get out there.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to say about the Tortuga tribe?
I was just to go off the Ben talk earlier with the Ben puns. I'm sure Ben can create his friends with benefits alliance.
Oh, perfect.
Terrible.
For
That's
Venus.
great. Yep. Yep. Nailed it.
All righty. I'm going to take a 2-second break to go grab some water before we get into the second half of this podcast.
That's a good idea, actually. I'll be right back too.
I might also wake up my dog so she stops snoring next to me before it starts getting picked up.
But I'm back.
All right, cool. Let's get back into it. Alrighty, so that's the Tortuga tribe, and next up we have the Baltra tribe. The Baltra tribe, represented by a blue-footed booby. That, personally, is Joaquin's favorite part of this season. I think he's made probably
So
5 or 6 different booby
surprised.
jokes.
Shocked, I
Alrighty.
tell you. Shocked.
All right, are we all ready to get into the Baltra tribe?
Let's do it.
All right.
Talk about boobies.
As we stated at the start of this podcast, we put a poll out to the lurkers and asked them to pick reps for this tribe, which wound up being players from season 28, Cagayan. So a lot of icons on this tribe, a lot of big shoes to fill. But again, another very character-heavy tribe, and so hopefully this cast can live up to it. All right, starting out, we have Alexis. Alexis is played by Prismatic Dawn. They are an 18-year-old, feminine-leaning, non-binary human being. I was not here for this interview, so I will let one of you guys kind of take the lead. But I am very excited about Alexis.
Yeah, let me just say to start, this is not a person who I think anyone will expect to be 18 years old. I think they
Yeah.
were extremely not just eloquent but mature throughout the interview in a really like interesting and introspective and like really strategic way, which was really exciting to see. I think they were another Reddit recruit from Kimmy, so somebody who's never played an org before but seemed to just know the strategy and the meta of the game really well, and I think has a really good kind of path laid out for themselves. And 18 years old, already graduated college, I think, is what they said.
Yeah.
Is just got their degree, taking a gap year though, trying to figure out what they want to do now that they're 18 years old with a degree. and just enjoying life at the moment. So really, really interesting person. Really excited to see what they're like in the game.
Yeah, I think Prismatic Dawn, Alexis is probably one of our smartest competitors this season. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't surpass a certain previous competitor's IQ. Um, she's just really fun and relaxed as well, which I really loved about her. She picked two very um, social but also sort of funny um, survivor players to compare herself to in Carolyn and Marianne, mostly for being a little out there, a little goofy, but also loyal, strategic, and both got very far in their seasons, which wouldn't surprise me at all if Alexis didn't finish up the game.
Yeah, and I talked about them being really like, strategic and introspective, but they were also just really fun to shoot back and forth with, talking about stupid little
Mm-hmm.
things like, okay, rank all fruits as alliance members, and stupid little fun quips and conversations like that are kind of silly and out there. So they can kind of switch between that, which I think is really important in these types of games. So they're not going to always be strategy, strategy, strategy all the time.
Yeah, there were a couple
Yeah.
things that really stood out to me when I went back and read the interview later, and both of them are outlined greatly in Susie's cast bios. The first one is that she calls herself a chaotic good player, and I really like the number of people in this cast who talk about the fact that they're going to be a little chaotic, that they know that they're going to be a little all over the place, and I think that's some really good self-awareness. Especially,
Mhm.
she's talking about Carolyn, she's talking about Mary, and players that, are big characters first, great players second. And I'm kind of expecting that out of Alexis in this game. The second thing, and let me make sure that I have this highlighted. I don't know if anybody listening remembers Stranded for Victory, but Cassandra famously made a ton of charts of alliances that were
Mhm.
so ridiculous. And Alexis said herself, I'm definitely the type of person who will stay up all night making a chart about the game. And that spoke to me personally as somebody who loves to look at those charts and just marvel at the way other people's brains work. So I'm excited to see how Alexis does in this game.
Oh, I think they have it in them to win. Even as a completely new to orgs player, I could really see them, managing that really well.
Yeah, I think of Alexis, if she can get her feet under her, I think that she has a great chance.
For sure. I thought it was funny in the lurker chat when John was lamenting, oh, how is the 62-year-old going to be able to talk to an 18-year-old? And as far as I'm concerned, this 18-year-old could talk circles around a 62-year-old. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with their being able to communicate. I hope that they end up meeting.
Yeah, I have no worries about Alexis making it pretty deep into the game. I think that she is set up very, very well. All right. Anything else before we move on to our next player? All right. Next up, we have Bryce. Bryce is played by, we are calling him White Rabbit. I don't know if that's exactly how he says it, but that's what we assume his username means. Uh, he is a 35-year-old male, and this is a recruit from Sarah and a couple other players. I think Kyle has played with him as well. Um, Bryce was a ton of fun. This interview was so funny. The best way I could describe Bryce is it's kind of like if Janine was a little less horny and a little more funny. Just had a great time
Oh,
talking with this guy in
Janine's
this
gonna
interview.
listen to this later and get at you for that.
Janine's hilarious.
Yeah. I had a great time talking with this guy. I think the thing that really stood out to me about Bryce was him talking about his experience with live games, talking about playing Survivor on Fire Island with his husband and a bunch of their friends, and how dramatic and ridiculous it got. He just seemed like a riot, and talked about how navigating relationships with people that you know can be harder than navigating the relationships with people you don't know that you meet in an online game. He has played Discord orgs. That's how he met Crindy. That's how he met Kyle. And so he at least knows what to expect going into this. I don't necessarily think Discord orgs are a direct comparison to Stranded, but at least he understands the basics. Will understand how to use his computer for challenges, stuff like that. I'm really excited to see what he does here.
Yeah, definitely not super comparable, but if you're getting recommended by, Sarah and Kyle, I think you belong in the Stranded community as a player. So I think they're really good examples of the Stranded vibe. And if they're like, oh yeah, you got to get this person to play this game. And I think he came across like that in the interview really well. Just really engaging and fun, with his comparison to Thomas from 48, unapologetically gay and ready to stir shit up. I definitely got that vibe. I think he's very unafraid of confrontation, but will do it in a really fun, entertaining way.
Yeah, I can't really add much to that except to say I think he's going to be like several we've got so far that we've talked about, lighthearted, fun, smart, and good at strategy. And I think that is a great combination.
Yeah. I think, like Levita said, some of the things I'm most excited about, the fact that he is actively confrontational. He doesn't let things fester. He's going to get to the root of the problem right away. I think that's a skill set that serves you very well in this game. And then also just, humor gets you a long way. And I think that he's set up to go deep here. And I do think, actually, that this tribe is going to be a really good group for him. Does anybody else have something to say about Bryce? Alrighty, then we will move on to our next player. Next up, we have Cliff. Cliff is played by K-Stud Milk Dud. He is a 36-year-old male, and this is a real-life friend of Liz from Stranded in Bhutan. Cliff was a very early interview for us, one of the very first, actually. I think he was just like a very laid back person. So much so to the point where he was telling us stories about kind of, going back and forth with his boss about politics, able to maintain that relationship despite, having completely opposite views, kind of poking fun at each other, and just gave off the vibe of somebody who's going to be able to roll with the punches. I was really impressed with him, and I'm really glad that he made the cast.
I think one of the things that's also just super endearing about Cliff is how excited he was to play Cliff. That's not something I necessarily expected, but he was super, super gung ho when he got the reaction. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do you so proud, Cliff. Rest in peace, man." So I think, and I think he's just gonna be super fun. The fact that he's real life friends with Liz is, I think, a really cool sort of nepo casting. And I think they're both like they watch. I don't know if they watch Survivor together or what, but they definitely talk about it with each other. And she's probably told him about Stranded, and so I think he kind of knows what he's getting into, but in that like heard it from a friend kind of way. So it's going to be really fun to see how he adapts to actually experiencing
I don't think they work together because his occupation is different from Liz's, but she was another one that sort of came in without a lot of experience, didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. Our Cliff, sorry, says that his gaming background is Pokemon, Oregon Trail, and Apex Legends. So I'm not sure how much of that is going to help him out here. But I do think he might. I mean, if Liz likes him, I'm assuming he's well spoken and confident. I might be that might be a stretch, but that's the feeling I get. He's got a sarcastic personality. One thing that stood out to me about his interview was that he lied to his mom and his grandma about going to college when he'd already dropped out. But instead, he went to the city library and read books because he felt guilty about lying to them. I'm not sure how that played out, but I'd like to ask him. But I just think he's going to be easy. He's going to be an easy liar and make that part of his game. So that should be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I think that there's a lot of overlap between playing Oregon Trail and playing Survivor. But none of them have to do with the online versions, you know?
Getting dysentery in both.
Exactly. No, I think that Cliff will be great. Like Susie said, being friends with Liz, who was kind of, a diamond in the rough last season, came in with no experience and just really took to the game like a duck to water. I could see Cliff doing the same thing here. I think it'll be high variance. It'll be one of those things where either he gets it and he's good, or he could be out very early. Could really run the gambit. But I think he's a likable enough person to do well. So
yeah, I think you nailed it with that.
Alrighty. Anything else on Cliff?
I hope that his and others' strong political beliefs don't get in the way of their game. But I can see it, the potential is there.
Yeah, although looking over this cast and kind of scrolling through, I don't think we have anyone who's going to clash with them that much.
We might not.
I off the top of my head, it's not like we cast what was it, Curl? We cast somebody whose screen name was literally a Hillary Clinton joke. We don't have anybody like that on the cast this year, I don't think. So, we'll see how it goes. But
was that Chris?
Chris was one.
So.
No, there was another one. I think it was God, what was it? Marcus?
Maybe. Yeah, you might be right. I don't remember.
There was another dude on the guys tribe in your.
Yeah, it was. Our guys tribe was full of degenerates.
Yeah, it was iconic. All right. If nobody else has anything else on Cliff, we'll move on to David. Alrighty, David Sampson, is played by Herb, who is a 35-year-old male. Herb is
his gender is none.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Did he ever identify a gender?
No, not on his app, but when he was talking in his interviews. He's a dude. If I get canceled for this later, David Sampson, this is my official apology for misgendering you. Anyways, Herb is one of the moderators on our Survivor. Another Kimmy Reddit recruits. What does that bring us to now? Like 8 Kimmy Reddit
is
recruits?
Aiming high with this one by getting a mod.
Yeah. Anyways, David had a really interesting backstory. He talks about his time suffering through addiction. And now he talks about how he's still addicted to drugs, but they're just drugs that aren't as bad. And lives by the mantra that every day is earned, which, respect, dude. This dude was just like, the best way to describe it, if you've ever had a conversation with Kimmy, this is like Kimmy amped up to like a 10 with like the dry humor. There are a bunch of times in the interview where I couldn't tell whether or not he was being rude or making a joke. But I kind of love that personality, and especially in this cast, I think it'll stand out. Kind of the opposite of the people who are like the overly yuppie socials, like the lovey-dovey types. His will be, very dry, very sarcastic, and I'm really excited to see that personality interact with everybody else.
Yeah, I think if he was on the other tribe, he could have a problem, but with some of the people we have on this tribe, I think he might fit in a little bit better, like with Cliff saying he's very sarcastic as well. I think, they'll, riff off each other in a fun, bantery type of way. The other really, really fun thing about David, one of the reasons we cast him as David Sampson is because in his application, when asked which survivors he was most likely, he named all Davids. He named and he gave reasons for all of those in his interviews. I think he gave
It was
actual
David
reasons for
Wright,
2 of them.
David Kinney,
Yeah,
and David Ball.
yeah, so
Can you draw a line between those 3? I don't think so.
they're all the same person.
I think you saw their Venn diagram connecting at adaptability and calculated risk, which I can kind of see with those 3. They were underdogs, and I think a little overly confident in some cases. That could be true.
Yeah, I could.
I think one thing I'm hoping for David is that he's got a softer side to him. And I think there's potential. I mean, I just think he's someone that won't see himself as above anyone else in terms of like life experience. So if somebody has, a story or shares something with him that's personal, I think he may protect that person a lot. So we'll see how he navigates socially. It's going to be a little rough for him, just because of all the different personalities, but I think he's going to do pretty well. He's definitely not easily shakable. He's not going to get upset too much if things get weird. He's a moderator of probably one of the more contentious stuff. So we'll see. It'll be good to find out.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to ride a wave of chaos pretty well. I think he's the type of person who would be able to adapt to a lot of the chaos and use it to his advantage rather than get like sucked into it all and become a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he just wants to like throw some jabs in there for fun.
Yeah. Well, we can't say that he's not self-aware. He did predict that they will be seen as a dumbass who has no shot of winning, but thinks that he does. So at the very least, he's going to be able to roll with the punches. If things don't go his way, he'll probably be able to laugh it off. I think he just has a good sense of humor and a good personality to kind of just go through this game and see what happens,
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. Anything else we want to say about David? Great. David, hopefully David Sampson is the best David you've ever played as. On to our next player. We have Jeffra, who is played by AKA, a 23-year-old female from Australia. This is a person that I'm very excited for. The interview, she was just so sweet and is a pretty new Survivor fan and kind of just out of the blue decided that she wanted to apply for this game. And, we kind of love that. I don't really know what to expect of her outside of a good social game. I do think she has a good head on her shoulders. I think that she's somebody who will be able to adapt and learn as we go. But it's kind of a blank slate. I don't really know whether she's going to be a good fit or not, in the sense that I have no read. I don't know if any of you do.
Sweet is a very good word. Exactly the same word I had in my mind to describe her, which is, I think, one of the reasons. I feel like she's going to be the type of player who is going to be really open about kind of being a little new to this, really take on that kind of innocent, more naive persona. And one of these more experienced players is going to be like, oh my goodness, you poor sweet thing. Let me take you under my wing and teach you everything I know. And I think she's going to then be able to, use that and then surpass them. But that may be like a dream I have for her, but I could see that happening.
Yeah, you know who she kind of reminds me of? In Stranded in the Tuamotus, Hope. She reminds me a lot of Hope, where there was just like, she's very nice, somebody that we really adored during casting, but just could get no read on how she was going to do, and like managed to do decently well, just like never really was in the mix. I'm hoping for a better trajectory for Jeffra here. Because one of the people that I had the most fun interviewing. So I would just like to see her find her footing and kind of figure this game out.
For me, I think what stood out is her resilience. It sounds like she's had some troubles in her life and she's gotten through them. She seems very positive, very social. Like she might be, potentially someone's new best friend. She's just gonna, I think, bond really well with certain people that she likes. So hopefully that'll help her out.
I think one possible issue she could run into is maybe being a little too trusting off the bat, and that could hurt her if somebody betrays her and trying to like rebound from that. But other than that, again, I think she's going to try to flock to a group of people she just feels really solid with and really ride with an alliance for a while, and that could get her really far.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, the players she compared herself to, all from Australian Survivor,
She
Sharn,
is from Australia.
yeah, Sharn, because we're both people who stand by our word, Tarzan, because she believes she's a nice person and she won't let the game influence her morals, and Jericho, because they're both Australian. Just like an interesting group of people. And like
hmm
Lavita said, really interesting reasons to compare yourself to those people. Um, like I said, it could go either way. This could be a thing where, maybe she finds somebody who she really can trust the entire way, or I could
hmm
see this ending very poorly for her.
I was very confused for a second because I'm so used to like people comparing themselves to like American Survivor players. So when I read Tarzan, I read
Yeah.
Troyzan, and I'm like, that does not compute with her personality, and I was very confused. But then I realized I'm like, oh, it's Tarzan from Australian Survivor.
Quite different.
All right. Anything else we want to say about Jeffra? Would love to see the best for her, but for now, we're moving on. Next up, we have Jeremiah. Jeremiah is played by Ringo Starr. He is a 28-year-old male from South Carolina. And honestly, another one of my favorite interviews. I know I've said that probably like 6 times now on this podcast, but this dude was so much fun. Um, he just was vivacious the entire time, very engaging, asked a ton of questions, but also just like really was sure of himself and what he wanted to do in this game, despite having no org experience. Like for somebody who has never played one of these before, interview was 10 out of 10.
Agreed. Definitely one of my favorite interviews too. Huge standout for me. Personally, I absolutely loved him. He comes in super competitive, claims he's going to win. The only Survivor players he compared himself to were winners because he wasn't going to put any of that negative mindset in his head about comparing himself to a non-winner, which I thought was really fun. But again, yeah, complete org noob, but somebody I think who will catch on to this really well straight out the gate and be a really powerful player. Kind of talked about how he doesn't want to be too controlling, but might end up becoming a little bit over controlling just because of that, need to kind of have his grits around things to make sure he can get his way to a win. So I would expect Jeremiah to come out with some big moves, especially if he feels like he's not leading the tribe in the way he wants to be.
There is
One thing.
one big catch for everything Ringo related, and that's he's going to be on vacation. Vacation. He's going to be camping Friday and Saturday of opening weekend. And we had a good back and forth with him, kind of talking through his options, what he could do, whether or not it was worth it for him to join this season. And he really, really wanted to play. I am just very, very nervous at missing those 2 days and being completely mobile, not necessarily around a lot. I'm really worried it's going to catch up with him, which is going to be a catastrophe for me personally because I really, really want to see him do well.
He was very invested in making it through. He said, "I will do whatever it takes to climb out of a hole of inactivity. I will go to the bathrooms and in the forest and check my phone." Very. I mean, he gave me similar vibes in that respect to like Tommy doing opening weekend on his honeymoon and still making a deep, deep run in the game. That's the type of vibe I get from Jeremiah.
I think that he does have some strategy experience. At least he's played Mafia games. They said he's played other group activities that were strategy based. I think he's got a good read on the strategy part of the game, and he's going to have to really bring the social game to dig himself out of that. But I've seen it happen. I've played on games where somebody wasn't there the entire first weekend and went really deep in the game. So I definitely, and we've got those situations that have happened at on Stranded as well. So yeah, I think he's got good chances if he can get through those first few days.
Yeah, I feel about him the same way that Lavita felt about Alexis. Like, he's somebody that I could see
Mm.
win as a complete org newbie. The personality, just
Hmm.
everything about him, like, screamed winner to me. And so I think if he's able to make it through that opening weekend, if he's able to start off on the right foot, I could see a very, very deep run for Jeremiah.
Yeah, he's also got, I think, the ability to bond well with other people, so that'll give him some good allies that'll protect him.
Alrighty, anything else we want to say about Jeremiah? All right, moving on to Jatia. I'm so excited we have a stranded Jatia. And Jatia will be played by Firestorm. Firestorm is a 29-year-old male from Australia and is a staple over in Org Universe. This is a bit of a ringer player for us. If I'm being honest, like, I would put a lot of money on Jatia doing very, very well this season, so long as she is able to show up and talk with her
Yeah.
tribe. Firestorm is very social. He's great at challenges. He knows how to play these games. I think as long as he has the time to put in to the game, I think it's his to lose, honestly.
The only thing I'm worried about for Firestorm, because yes, he is incredible, does very well in like basically any game I've ever seen Jatia play. Hosts a lot, is going to be incredible at challenges. So that's I think that's the person we were talking about as being the challenge beast of the season. Wants to play a really like OTT female, but does not play IM games. And that could be a little bit of an issue for Jatia to adapt to, is not being able to just shoot off, 1,000-word PM, once or twice a day, and instead having to be on during these live times, IMing tribe mates and having these kind of more small talk, a little less shticky kind of conversations. And I have full confidence Jatil will be able to adapt to that, but it's going to be very different for them.
I did love during Jatia's interview when they were asking, like, oh, like, how much shtick do people normally do? And we were like, oh, like, very little. Like, maybe they're joking about having the same job as the person. Maybe they're making 2 or 3 jokes about, like, oh, I'm going to throw the rice in the fire. Ah. But he was, like, planning on being Jatia. Like, and, a few times that we have had somebody that came in and went full shtick, it was, like, crack to the audience, but the players themselves didn't like it. The most recent example I can think of is all the way back in Stranded in Morocco. We had somebody playing as Natalie Cole and was like legitimately role playing as Natalie Cole, building the fire and cooking rice. And while we were loving it, the people in the game did not. So I really hope that he's able to find a balance between, the IM social game and being able to connect about their personal lives and what they're doing, while also still being able to bring the personality and shtick element that Firestorm is so well known for.
Another interesting thing
Played.
too that at least for me is like, especially comparing like all the games that are PM based versus IM based, when it comes to the challenges, at least for Stranded, lots of the challenges are a lot more social based or a bit more like of a luck component to them. It's not very like technical as over on J-Sync or whatever you want to call it. And so that's what I think is going to be interesting to see is how he does in those kinds of challenges, because if he is already this big threat, they may, if they're aware of that, if he's not able to control his threat level, they may gang up on him on those kinds of challenges where you need to have that social game to be able to win rather than just rely on your technical abilities.
Yeah, and I mean, though that challenge strength could also work well for him early on too, in being a huge asset to his tribe. He kind of implied during his interview that he'll whip his tribe into shape need be and help them out with, challenges, because I mean he's hosted amazing race games which require ridiculously complex challenges to be created. He's really creative in that front. So he probably knows more about the forum websites than we do and what you can do with
We might learn some
like
things.
all of those little
I've
tricks,
played 2
but
games.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a different adaptation for sure, and it's really the jump into the Stranded adaptation that I'm super interested in, because obviously we've had players make that jump really well before in Orc Universe, like Sherry, Mary, and Stranded and Tuamotus came in expecting to play a huge shtick and
Yep.
really realized really quickly that she had to tone it down and be just more of herself, and was able to do that really well. So we'll see if Jatia can do the same.
So I've played 2 games with Firestorm Jatia. The first game I played with her, I thought she was pretty social. Like, I didn't notice that she wasn't social. I thought that, I mean, she was my ally, and I thought that she communicated well with me. And then I also played All Stars with her as Abby, and I felt in that game that she was much more of a game bot. And I don't know whether that was a situation that was different because of her schedule or what, but I didn't I couldn't break through the shtick. And so she, I think, had a challenge in that game of really connecting. But we'll see. I mean, she definitely is going to boss the games like no other. And we'll see how adaptable she is to this platform. It's going to be probably like hitting her with a fire hose with all the chatting. So we'll see how she does.
I do just want to push back and say that Abby, the reporter with the scoop in All Stars, was an icon
Yeah,
and was robbed.
for sure.
All right.
But didn't really connect. I mean, I was in a position where I could have helped her, and she didn't connect with me enough to make that happen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It could have been a one-off for sure.
I think he'll do very well. Or excuse me. I think Jatia, she will do
Yes.
very well. All right. Anything else we want to say about Jatia?
Excited to have them play with us. I'm glad that they stepped over the pond to have a try at Stranded.
Next up, we have Cass. Chaos Cass is going to be played by Hopper. She is a 57-year-old female, and this was a very interesting interview. Another one of our Kimmy Reddit recruits. She was very direct. I don't know a different way to say it, but almost similar to Charlie. Everything we asked would get maybe a 4 or 5 word answer with a period at the end, and then she would sit there and wait for the next question or wait for a response from us or some sort of interaction. I found it fascinating. I wasn't really sure of what to make of her socially, which is why I think Cass is kind of a great rep for her. She just has an energy about her that I'm really interested to see in the game.
Yeah, as someone that was her age when I played my very first game, I was really intimidated by the interview process itself. I'd gone all those years without ever having an interview of people wanting to size me up and see if I was good enough to play a certain game that I'd never played before. and it just felt intimidating. So I don't know if that's what she experienced, but that would be, sort of what would make me stick to the script and not vary from it, not really knowing what to do. Um, but she also, I think, I think she's probably pretty tough, maybe probably tougher than I am. And, has had a lot of difficult things in her life that have happened to her. And she's maintained her sense of humor. And she also calls herself charming. So I'm hopeful that we'll see all of those sides to her. And if that happens, I think she'll do pretty well. I think that the challenges, I don't know. I have no idea if she can do any of the challenges. I'm assuming they're all going to be completely new to her like they were to me. So we'll see.
I think she, to your point, Denny, she was pretty direct in the interview, but I also got the sense just from it that she is like really chatty. Like, I think once you put her in the game situation, she's gonna really chat players up, in a way that we might not have seen as much in the directness of answering interview questions. But I think she's got that potential in her. And, but I do think, she's not gonna be afraid to kind of say her piece or make her point. If she has a preference for a vote, I don't think she'll back down from it. And I think that's really where the chaos cast will come through in it all, in that I think she'll give herself a reputation.
I was about to say the same thing, like
Yeah.
comparing just the two. I'm assuming the two oldest people in the cast, her and Mother Sue. I think that's the edge that Hopper has, is that she seems to be more. She seems like she'd be more communicative in the game and be more apt to like the
Yeah,
IM style, DM style.
for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you read through her bio, she talks about how she can be sharp, she can be a little bit of a bitch, for lack of a better word. I think her direct quote that Susie has in the bios: "People never know if I'm crossed. I will be a cold hard bitch." Like, yeah, I think that I could see that from her, and I think that's a fun vibe to have for, especially an older woman in one of these games.
Yeah.
I think Sue kind of came across more. Caring, motherly kind of energy, whereas Cass is going to be a little bit more of an in your face. I have lived a life. I know what I want to do. I'm not going to let you kids tell me I can't vote out the person that I want to vote out. And I think that'll be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, she's here to play. And she's made that very clear. I mean, and I think she'll come out and she'll make it known what she wants, and she'll try to make that happen. We'll see how well that does.
How
Yeah.
she'll do overall. Yeah, this is another one of those ones where I could see her being the first boot. I really could, but I could also see if she finds some people who really want to work with her, I could see her making it far if she can make those inroads.
Definitely.
All right. Anything else on Cass? Moving on, we have Sarah. Sarah is played by Jira Atlassian. She's a 37-year-old female who describes herself as a queer weirdo game developer. This was another standout interview, and somebody who is completely new to orgs, but just was really engaging for the entire time. I don't think that there was a dull moment for the entire hour that she was in interviewing with us.
Yeah, another interview I absolutely loved, absolutely adored, from another, new female player. No, never played an org, but she did run a Sailor Moon role play on a Neopets forum, which I think is hilarious, and I love that so much. So I think she might adapt to the platform, game developer. I think she'll do really well on the challenges. I think she'll adapt to those really well, even as a completely new player. She'll be the type of person that people won't believe, like the experienced players won't believe she's new to this.
Yeah,
even though
that's a
she
good
is
point.
completely new to this. But I think she's going to take it on and do really well. It's a little ironic that we've got this queer weirdo game developer playing Sarah, but I feel like they have a very similar kind of energy in that she's a go-getter. She knows what she wants, just like we were talking about Cass before. I think she's going to be really active in the strategy while also being a big social player, and I can see her getting pretty far.
Yeah, for sure. The vibe I got from her is that she's super smart. Like, I think she's probably going to be able to figure out most of this game, even though she's never played. She also told us some fascinating backstories. Um, I mean, y'all can read the bio, but she talked about getting her thumb under her eyelid in a tumbling class, and that was after she'd received a concussion and had to drop out of pro wrestling school. She's currently a protest medic and has been arrested, I think. I can't remember. She said she almost got arrested. I wrote that, but now I don't know if she said she had or not. But she gets into the mix. Like she's not afraid. It doesn't seem like she's afraid of anything. And then she also told us some stories about having former child stars as her friends. Yeah, so I think she's someone that can fit in with a number of different groups and probably will find something in common with just about everybody that she's on a tribe with. And I think she's really verbal and just has interesting stories. And I just think people are going to love her.
Yeah, I mean, if the good interview wasn't enough, the fact that she name dropped that she has child star friends was an instant cast for me. I was like, okay, who are you introducing to us, and who are you sending our way next? Um, but yeah, I think she's fascinating. It really gives off the vibe of just like confidence and assuredness. And I expect great things from her.
Yeah, she's gonna have a ton of stories. Like, sometimes when you're chatting online, it can be hard to figure out, okay, what should we talk about when we're not talking about game? And I think she's gonna be able to come up
Mm-hmm.
with like the most random things to talk about that will really just be interesting for people.
For sure.
Alrighty, anything else on Sarah?
I'll just say, I think her chat is the one I'm looking forward to reading the most. Like, how does she interact with people? What does she think of to say?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because the person I'm most fascinated to see chat is coming up next. And that is Tasha, who is played by Micah. She's an 18-year-old female, and Micah doesn't really know what Survivor is. But when she was Googling to find a different game on the internet, she came across our application, thought it was funny. She was drunk, so she filled it out, and we had the most fascinating interview with her. I was just enamored. Like, this person doesn't feel real to me.
Yeah. I was half convinced at one point. I was like, Pootie, you need to check her IP address, make sure she's not some like troll who's played before, kind of trying to come back in under an alt. But hilarious, when we asked her what she knew about Survivor, she said she knew about Jeff Probst. And she knew that clip of that guy giving up his necklace that one time, and apparently that was bad to do. she
Eric, probably.
Yeah, she was shocked. She was
Yeah,
like, is
Eric
this
had to
even a
have
real
been.
thing? Am I applying to a scam? What's happening? We got back to her. She's like, oh, so this is real. Okay, I'm in. She cast herself before the interview ended. She said, I know you guys are gonna want me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put my spot in this season. And sure enough, we fell for that marketing, and we have cast her, and we are going to see what she's like in this season. I also loved her reality fan TV comparisons. Aubrey O'Day, super dramatic and stirs up trouble. Nina Leaks, because I too hate white refrigerators, and Omarosa, because Black Lives Matter.
It's already been posted in the Lurker server, but we did have a point in the interview where Kimmy basically gave like a very, very generic outline of what the game of Survivor is. Like, this is basically just explaining two tribes that might swap, and then they merge, and a jury of your peers picks the winner. And her response was just, what? Like, I have no idea what to expect from her because I don't think she knows what to expect out of this game, but it's fascinating. And she was so funny that we just decided, like, let's put in a what the fuck, like, this person's going to be hilarious pick into the cast. When we were sending out information for logins and reps and confirming who was going to play, she was like, who's Tasha? And then I was like, oh, she's from this season. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to look that up. Can you just tell me who she is? Like, she just has this personality about her that's really engaging and really funny.
Let's just say I do not know how either of them are going to do in this season, but if Venus and Tasha meet, my dreams will come true in this season.
Oh, I hope they like each other. She's she's probably our biggest wild card this season. I don't think any of us really know what to expect, including whether or not she shows up on day one. I was impressed that she could remember that she had sent the app in the first place. Yeah, I have no idea how she's going to play. I think that it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, I hope so. But like Susie said, I think she's a bit of a flight risk. I think there's a really high chance that she might get her login, see what the game is, and decide this isn't for me, which is why we have a couple alternates on standby, ready to hop in case Tasha dips. But I'm just really excited. I think some of our favorite people in Stranded are just the ones who are absolutely clueless about what's going on, or people
Hmm.
who just are marching to the beat of their own drum while the game is happening somewhere else. And I think Tasha will fall into that category for us this season.
Very different 18-year-old young women we have here.
For sure. All right. Anything else people want to say about Tasha? All right. Well, that brings us to our 22nd player today, and that is Tony. Tony is going to be played by Daniels. He's a 22-year-old male from Latvia, and he's a pretty experienced Discord orger, and somebody that I, once again, really, really enjoyed in their interview. For somebody who's Eastern European, he was speaking in perfect English, was very responsive, was very funny, and also has a very, very high opinion of himself and his gameplay, which is why I think he's going to be the perfect Tony for us this season.
Yeah, I don't think you could have said that much better in terms of summing him up in just a few words. I don't think he's ever done particularly well in the seasons he's played so far and the game experience he has. I mean, I definitely know he's never made a finals. It seems like from what he was saying, he may have gotten like mid-merge is maybe like the furthest he's gotten. So I'm really excited to see, if he can kind of crack that code, which he seems like he thinks he can here in Stranded. Really interesting kind of group of players he compared himself to between like Genevieve and Jelinski and Boston Rob, which again, talking about fun combos, I would love to see Jelinski and Boston Rob kind of mashed together into one person. Controlling the game in several ways, but we'll see what he comes up with through here. I know he's really dedicated. He seems to have no issue with the fact that this is going to be at like 3-4 a.m. His time. He does not care. He will stay up for it, and I think he's going to put his all into this. I'm excited to see how the other players see him, especially coming in with a rep like Tony.
Yeah, good point. I think he may get over whatever negative things people might feel about the rep by talking about where he's from, if he decides to do that. I didn't get to sit in on his interview, but I got a good sense that he might be able to do well here. He definitely has a target on being social and realizes how important that is. I think that he is going to be able to feel like he's managing his tribe So we'll see if he's a good manager or not. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think he's interesting. I'm glad that we have someone from Latvia. Is that our first Latvian player?
As far as I know.
I can't remember. Is Rob
No,
from
Rob's
Latvia?
Polish.
I
I
think he
thought Rob
is,
was
right?
Polish. But I did get.
No, that's
I
Hmm?
thought
I think you're thinking
Oh,
Eric.
Eric is
Eric is
Polish, but
Polish.
I
Eric's
thought Rob
definitely
was
Polish.
too.
Rob is Latvian, I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure.
I feel like I've talked to
Okay.
him about this. I'm gonna have to go check our
Uh,
messages later. Anyway, I did get a lot of like Rob vibes from him, in terms of I think they could play very
That'll be good.
similarly. Though at the same time, I also got like a little bit of like Eric attitude in just like that kind of, nonchalant, kind of trolly in a couple of different ways, but in like a really funny, cool way, fun way. He compared himself or talked about Sarah a lot in his interview, but the second Danny asked him what kind of gender rep he wanted, it was immediately like male. Just give me a man.
Yeah, to be pull back the curtain a little bit, we had him written down as Sarah in this cast, and then someone was like, you might just want to check and see, like, would he be okay playing as a woman? And then immediately it was like, he's like, I want to play a man. So glad that we asked, but I think Tony and Sarah, two sides of the
Yeah.
same coin. Uh, but yeah, I think the Rob comparison is really good, and I think that's probably like the apex of what I could see him doing here, where he becomes a threat. He's played enough of these games where I think he's going to be competitive in the challenges. Um, he's played enough that he knows how to be social, and he told us, that he's willing to fuck up his sleep schedule in order to be here for the live events. So if he's able to maintain a social position in this tribe, I think his experience will come in very handy here. Anybody have any predictions about Tony? I'm thinking mid-merge at least.
Yeah, I could
my
see
gut
him
feeling on
going
him.
right before a merge or right after a merge, to be honest. I'd love him to break his curse and get further than he has, but we've talked about a lot of these people kind of going either early or really, really late. There's got to be a group of people who goes in the middle, and I could see him falling into that.
I have no prediction about this one. I think he's too much of a enigma for me to know how it's going to play out. I like what he says in his interview. I think that means that he probably does go at least mid. But maybe he goes farther than that. Maybe he figures it out and converts his Discord knowledge into Stranded.
Well, in that case, how do we feel about the Baltra tribe in general as a group?
I think they both seem balanced in terms of game body types. They're maybe better to say people with a lot of org experience, a lot of ability with the games, as compared to people that come in saying they're mostly going to rely on their strategic or their social
Kind of
chops, social and
I sort of
strategic.
get the sense that of the two tribes, this one might be a little bit more focused in terms of like trying to be like, oh, tribe strength, let's get ahead, let's do this. And the other tribe might be like, oh yeah, we're just here to have a
Mm-hmm.
good time, and then like, oh no, now everything's getting chaotic. I but that might just because we have a couple of people who might be a little bit more, laid back, down to earth, or but like you know strategic minded on this tribe. But I think it's a really interesting mix. I would be interested to see how people kind of bond with each other on this tribe. I think like David and Cliff will get along. Like Alexis, Jeffra, maybe even Jeremiah. But it's harder for me to tell on this tribe kind of how the relationships within each other are going to shake out. I think that's going to be a much bigger surprise
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking at this game as a whole, I see, similar to what you said, Love, I see the Tortuga tribe being the social powerhouse tribe, the people who are here to make relationships and are going to focus on that as the core of their game. Whereas this tribe feels a bit more strategy, game body, and not even game body, but kind of like you said, focus. Like they're gamers. This is like the tribe that's going to be in the weeds, strategizing, kind of, looking to one up each other. That's at least the vibe that I get. Where maybe it's a little bit more like Tortuga's Kumbaya. This is watch your back.
Mm.
When I'm looking at relationships. Oh, I think I agree with you with the relationships. I think I can see the women on this tribe specifically, like Jeffra, Jira, and Alexis, really bonding. Like I can see like a really natural connection there. Outside of that, I'm really curious to see how like Daniels, Herb, I'm not really sure where they fit in here personality wise, like who they're gonna connect with socially. Um, and then there's Ringo. Ringo, I see being able to get along with
Yeah, I
all
could
of
really
them.
see like Jeremiah and Sarah like running the tribe in a way. Um, and yeah, I could definitely see this kind of being a tribe where if they lose a challenge, they're gonna look to who is to blame for losing the challenge as a reason to maybe vote somebody out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are our two tribes. Um, I don't really have much else to say. I guess before we leave tonight, if you're taking a look at all 22 players, who is your winner pick at this moment?
So many good choices. I think I'm gonna go ahead and because I said it earlier in the podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Alexis. I think there's just something about
Oh,
her that I really, really think she'll be able to do that thing of kind of sliding under the radar for a while, but having really strong social bonds and then coming through and really impressing people towards the end of the game. So I think there's a couple of really good winner contentions throughout this cast, but that's who I'm going to go with. And I stole it first so that Susie couldn't. I mean, you can of course take the same person, Susie. We've had people double up before, but
you definitely stole it. I'd have never come across a 18-year-old that was that articulate and seemed so incredibly smart. And I think those are pretty good characteristics, especially if you can also come across as, sort of a wide-eyed newbie and, get through some of the tougher first votes, because nobody's going to be blaming you for anything. And, just think there's some traction that can be gained in a game like that. So we'll see. We'll see how she does. I think I might be looking the most forward to watching her play. So maybe that's why she makes it into my winner pick.
Yeah, I'm having a really, really hard time picking just one. I've got a head choice, I've got a heart choice, and I've got the funniest outcome
I do love
choice.
the funniest outcome choice. If Tasha wins this game, I think Stranded as a whole will be a better game for it.
Venus.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, Venus and
Yeah.
Tasha are kind of like the meme guesses here, where I was like, if that happens, number one all time season of Stranded. I don't know. But my gut is giving me a really, really good feeling about Jeremiah. That's kind of the person that I just keep coming
Yeah, I
back
can
to
see that
him
too.
as like that. I just think he can do it. Um, so pray for me opening weekend. I'm gonna be sending up some prayers that he's somehow getting service out in the mountains on his camping trip and doesn't get left in the dust.
Yeah, if he can navigate that, his social game is going to be amazing.
All right. Well, that's the cast of Stranded 45, you guys. And we did it all in
Did we
just over 2 hours. Look at us.
did we hear from James on the winner pick?
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
James. Who are you picking?
I was gonna go Jeremiah as well as like one of my picks. I'm a little bit torn too. Is Jeremiah, if he can survive that opening weekend being away, I think he has really good chances, and it's just like really a gut feeling for me. And then also, I kind of feel like if Ben can understand his social threat level and like keep it under wraps, I guess, a little bit more, I can see him kind of finally getting his wish of making it at least to the finale and maybe even winning. As long as he's able to like, you know, not be so the lovable goofball, you know, you gotta kind of play that nice middle ground, or else you get caught like right at the end. And we see that numerous times with like players that are known to be the social threats. They always get cut at like 4th or 5th place because they can't win the challenge to get immunity, or just they're too big of a threat. But I still feel like Ben has a good chance at this if he's able to like control that part of him or keep it more under wraps.
Gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, we're just about a week out, which is crazy. You know, I feel like we've been at this for a little bit. You know, we started our casting a little bit earlier this year, just to kind of give ourselves some time to find a perfect cast, and I really think we did it. So, here's to hoping for a good season. If nobody else has anything else, that'll do it for us tonight.
Branded out. Get your
Bye.
STDs,
Here's
everyone.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the Galapagos.